Oh shit! There's my jam. Oh, sorry.
Hey, stop talking about the secret stuff. They can hear us now.
Yeah. Undercover with Dank live. Sui Loma Loma.
So how do we make it Dank Tui? How do we mix the name in? Because Tui is
just like that.
Dank Tui.
Ra Tui Dank. Tui Dank Loma Loma. Sure.
Or Tui Dank Loma Loma.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Tui Dank.
Tui Dank.
And hello, everybody. This is Tui Dank Loma Loma, the new name of the show. Or do you like Dank Tui? Dank Tui or Tui Dank?
Tui Dank, it works.
All right. So we're here. We were actually chatting for the last 20 minutes. Sorry about that. It was a semi-private call, talking about the things going on that we can't talk about. We can talk about some of it, but
yeah, we can talk about some of it. I'm pretty open. I don't understand what I feel for the most part. I mean, I talk to bankers all the time. I talk to all types of people, and I've been doing this aggressively for the past almost 2 years. And I just don't understand how here we are after all this time, and the option is to create an entirely new private banking system, which that is part of it, but that really should come second, because that still keeps the money where? I mean, where do you use it? Where do you use it? Because you still have to, if you pay someone, the money still has to come into the public. And if they're not honoring Kim's money, what good does it do?
Well, yeah, and just as a note, I was. This is my quandary, going back into why I went into cryptocurrency, was because it was outside of that system, right? And so to build your own servers and then being able to bypass, banking and government and have a private system was the reason why I went that direction, right? So. This is do we need to do that now? Are we going to use any part of the existing, banking structure, right, for this? And there is, it does have to play a piece, but the question is, what piece does it play?
But that's the thing is, Kim is reprogrammed. I mean, she spent a year, more than that even, reprogramming the entire system.
Right. So
the real question is, what's the obstacle? I mean, because at this point, they clearly can't touch their money. I mean, there's countries all over the world that are falling apart. England's even saying that they're going to have the worst recession in history. Steve Mnuchin saying that they don't have enough money to pay their salaries on Monday. So you have, if the United States is in that state, right? And believe me, the United States doesn't go in 5 months without getting a paycheck. I mean, it'll be riots in the street. It will collapse the world's economy, because it'll be crazy, because it would have to come out. So that's the question I have is the end game that collapse the economy, because that seems to me like that's what they want. So how does threatening them the banks are going to collapse? How does that? It just doesn't make sense to me, and I haven't been able to get it from Kim, so I'm just confused.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the banks have to collapse. Certain ones will. Deutsche Bank is probably gone already. It's just a mirage sitting there, laying there, probably better. But the aspect of having a system in place right now that is moving food around the world, shipping. These things are, tied in all to the system, and we need that, electricity. All these things,
Exactly. Right.
they're built in, so we have to use it. So how do we transition into a whole new model is by running them simultaneously side by side and having a bridge.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm with you. One second.
Okay, well, anyway, so there is a way to handle this where we build a bridge between an abundance-based system and a debt-based system, where they run side by side, and one is obviously going to die because it's actually that is its lifespan, right? It's at the end of its lifespan, it will die off. But while it's there,
No
we
problem.
can
Thanks.
build something else.
Makes sense. Well, the thing is that okay, the system in and of itself is not evil, right? It's the people that were running it, right? And because the way that
Yeah.
they ran it into the ground. Now, this system, the way it worked, was designed. There was no other way out of it because the assets were always going back into the system, and they would bring back out paper.
Right.
So, in that model, there's no winning, of course, right? I mean, there's the end is death, no matter what you do. It's
Always
going
the
about.
top. Always all the ownership will always end up in the trust in that model.
Right. In that model. So I mean, they didn't even understand that. So, now, they're still convinced that they're somehow, I guess, going to live or whatever they think they're going to do. They're still talking about making plans, and they're used to having big money. And most of, I mean, at least, most of these groups on the lower end still think they're doing something, right? They still think they're moving assets. They're still making promises. They're still saying, "Oh, the check's in the mail." I mean, I got people all over waiting on things to come in, and I know it's not coming, right? So, so that being said, it's like, well, the system designed to crash. Now, I know Kim has done a tremendous amount to hold the system up, but she also doesn't really care about the banks. But she didn't do all that work to reprogram the banks just to let it, flounder and die. You know, and even if you set up one private bank in Fiji, well, the money can go to that one private bank. There's no difference between it being in that one private bank versus being in the trust. It's in a place that's safe, but it's inaccessible. So it doesn't really, you know, unless
Well,
now,
private banks do have access to moving funds into the system.
but they won't recognize Kim's assets. That's the problem.
Right.
See, as soon as the assets, this is what Tui just said. They watch, right? So it's like this. It's like being in a house. The house is surrounded by 1,000 gunmen. It doesn't matter if an elf steps out or a magical fairy. They're getting shot, right? Anything that comes out of the trust, they follow it. So what they would do is if it's safe in the first location, now as soon as I go to pay something, they'll go and they'll take that money, right? So now I transfer you money to set up, create change headquarters, and we make your account safe. Now you got $10 million sitting in your account. Great, it's there, safe. Now you go to pay someone, they follow it there and they take it. Because this is what they do all the time, repeatedly, over and over again. The money always ends up going back to them. Even Putin the other day, say like Kim gave funding for the people and the government, and he turned around and gave it to the Rothschilds, allegedly. I mean, from the report I heard, that's what I was told. Now, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just misdirection on purpose. I don't know. That's where it's very confusing to me and frustrating, to be honest, because I really don't know. And
that doesn't that part doesn't make any sense. They spend all this time getting Rothschilds out of Russia. Why would he turn around and give them money?
Right.
They're chosen with China, so they wouldn't support Russia, in this, and that's who they've been demonizing is Russia. They're fall guy. Even in the prophecies, the bear and everything is the one that's supposed to, be fighting America. So all of this is done, to create this scenario. So I don't see them doing. How can Putin do that? But anything is possible. It could all be still another level of illusion.
Well,
but Tui knows the answer.
No.
Hey,
Indeed.
Dan.
So where's Rowe in all this? Did Putin give the money back? Do you know, to the Rothschilds?
Yeah, basically that's what they did. I guess Kim transferred some money to them, and they decided to work together with the cabal or the elite or the Rothschilds, and Kim has to take it back. And so, yep, same thing goes with China as well. And um, well, from what we experienced in Fiji is we went and wait for the funds to come in. We were already at our local bank, which is the commercial bank that we're using here in Fiji. And I called Kim up. And so we had a very brief conversation, but I could understand everything that she was talking about. And I talked with the guys from Australia, the Matangali from Australia, and also from New Zealand about it, because we were if Kim was able to transfer to Fiji, we would have funds already. I'll be moving it all over the planet. And so what she said was that she won't be able to transfer it, move it to Fiji because the Chinese elders and the Chinese families are working together with the reserve or the central bank there in Australia. And so every transfers or every allocations or every code or every movement of funds that comes out from the trust towards here to the Pacific has to go through the Australian network or the Australian Central Bank. They have to give authentication from there. And so that's when she said she won't take that risk to transfer the fund in that direction. And then and she said that she has all allocation for Fiji already. And that's when I meet up with the people from Australia, and they said that we had to create a direct connection to the trust in that way. Maybe I understand if Tank would be able to actually ask Kim to maybe talk about it or specify the structures or the banking structure. I think Kim was just talking about the programming done there in the US, and because of how they can transfer funds from there to the banks, the local banks there, or even some parts of the world. But towards the Pacific, because of the different the locations, the islands are so far apart. The network is not that it's. I mean, it has to be done physically in a way. And so that's why the Australian and the New Zealand team has to come to Fiji and create a terminal here physically. They can't do it from from Australia, and they can't do it from New Zealand. They have to come here, do the legal documentation for it, create a kingdom, a sovereign kingdom here in Fiji. And then we'll be able to become the beneficiary of the trust, and we'll be able to get the direct connection to the trustee and the trust, and hopefully we'll be able to transfer fund as soon as we can. So that's basically the reason why they came, because they heard our conversation with Kim, and they understood what she was talking about. Using the public domain, there's a lot of they are looking at every fund that's moving, and as soon as it comes out from the trust, they are holding on to it, because they still consider themselves a trustee in a way, or has rights to the trust, to the funds that's there in the trust. And so the good thing that Kim has done what she's done is stop all the allocation funds on the plan, so that it will, it will be able to enable people to wake up. And even here in Fiji, the governments are waking up really, really quickly. I'm informing them of all the situation. They don't even know that this is actually happening. They think the local economy is collapsing because of poor decision making by the leaders. But it's
Right.
now and now they finally realize that the money does not belong to the Fijian government. There's no Fijian government money. I know money is it does not belong to any government on the planet. The money belongs to the trust. Whatever currency that you may hold on to, it belongs entirely to the trust. And as soon as the trustee stops allocating allocation numbers or allocating funds to any country, that's it. You can't print any because the banking system is just one. So we had a laugh yesterday because they didn't understand that they think that there's different currency on the planet. I told them, no, there's just one currency. It's already united because this was their plan. The only differences was the value and the economic value of the different countries. That's why you have the different separation on the currency values and the difference in governments all over the planet. But there's only one system. And so if the system disconnect themselves from the country cannot create any more new funds or new currency to actually be a legal tender in that particular country. And so it's a big lessons for them. More and more people are learning, and until some of them still don't understand it. Some even our leading economists, they still don't know how that works. It's really simple. It's just one.
Yep.
The trust in the monetary system is just one big private that's connected. It's like a bloodstream to all the different governments, and all the money that everyone on the planet are using comes from the trust. So no matter if you put that, it's a Fiji dollar or whatever dollar that may be, or yen or whatever, it's it's not your money. The money is just currency that's has been allocated
Held
to
in
all
the
the
trust.
different countries, and it's been flowed. Yes, but it's ultimately held by the trust, and the system is the security system of the trust organized and that's why nobody you can create a money outside of that and try and implement it in bring in new allocation numbers or new serial numbers to all or even double it up like the super nodes. And so they had a very big learning, and we had a big talk, and they're able to understand. So right now they're getting the understanding of what's actually truly happening. But ultimately, it comes to how we relate as human beings to each other and recognizing each other's sovereignty, and that's what the lesson here has to be. We need to realize the connection between us and the planet, and the title of us being sovereign, and what it means to be sovereign. And if we can stand for sovereignty, and if we can understand that, and truly, we can create our own money, and we can work together with the trust to enable ourselves to do that. Because that's what the kingdoms can do. They have the right to actually create their own money, but no one on the planet can do it. Right now, the only country is the U.S. It's Trump that Kim was already recognized as a sovereign nation, and that's why the trust is supporting the government right now in the U.S. And I almost told the military to just call Trump up so that they can get the authenticity about the trust. Easily direct call from the PM to Trump. So ultimately, that will happen because we need to do this. We need to do this fast in a few days. And so everyone knows. They know they have already come up with a contingency plan to try and manage the current crisis or the current situation we are in. So I said, there's no other situation. We have to prove ourselves to be sovereign, help, love one another, love every different, all the different people that are here, all the different races that are here, different language and cultures, and express the living force that's within them. And we have to prove to Kim that we are sovereign, and that's the only way the funds can be released so that we can use it in that way. So I mean, that's just talking about Fiji. And I know that's going to happen to the rest of the planet. And for the guys there in create change that has already have the approval. So I'm waiting just because I can force it to people. I'm waiting for them to realize it on their own. I'm giving them what you call this uh, points. What do you call when you're trying to lead them to a conclusion? I'm trying to do that
Yeah.
so that they can learn on their own. And so I tell them you have to do it fast because by August that's a new budget here in Fiji, and if we don't have that 3.4 billion for your new budget, sorry, they'll and then we just experience the crash together. And because you are so slow in trying to understand these things, and you'll blame yourself, you don't blame anyone else. And so that's the current situation right now. And I'm waiting for Matangali in Australia to come in, and also from New Zealand, the Maori, the United Kingdom of New Zealand, and the United Kingdom of Australia. We are going to come and work together with our tribes, with not the government for now, because the government is still learning a lot of lessons on their own. And as soon as they can work together with our government, they won't become government anymore. There will be no separation from us and them. We're just people. The hats that we wear are just illusions. And this money will actually teach them that lesson. The lack of money that they have, or the funding and all this that's not here anymore. It's going to make them realize that they're just families, and they're just humans. They're just tribes. They're just part of these. They've been so deep in the law, the system of the law of the sea, so for so long that they forget who they truly are, and what their part, truly is to play. The part that they have to play in this, in our country here in Fiji, and serve the people. Because they've been, they have that power, they have money, but now it's gonna go away from them, and they will, it's gonna be a good time for them to reminisce about their past and about what they do, and maybe together we'll work together and create a new future for my country. So the chiefs are here; they're waiting. Just like I said, we went to our local bank. We wait. I called Kim up, and that's what she said, that the funds, there's no direct connection from the trust to Fiji. So hopefully we can create that, and that's the only solution we have right now. We create a government connection to the trust, and however that may be, because like I said, I always say this is the first time it's going to be done, and not really sure on how to do it, and we'll need help. We need help from everyone that already done it. It's just a different situation here in Fiji. It's not like the one in the US where you are so close to, and the banking system is so close to the trust. Here is just we have a path. We have a different path that has to be followed, and then it reaches here. And if you can create a direct path to the trust, and that's what we're gonna be doing. So, yep. Thank you so much, everyone, listening in. Thank you, everyone around the planet, wherever you are. I know this is gonna all apply to everyone. I've heard the movement of what's happening in Hawaii, and the sovereign kingdom of Hawaii, and what they're doing and standing up for their sovereignty. I want, Chief Alika, thank you so much for the love, for the love of the spirits of Allah that you people are expressing. And, we, the chiefs in Fiji, we stand behind you 100%. And we will, I know we will learn this lesson together, because everyone on the planet will have to stand and do their due diligence to stand for their own sovereignty. And so that's everyone in the islands, different islands here in the Pacific, the Polynesian group of islands, the Melanesian, the Tongan, the Samoans, the Maori, the Aboriginal community of Australia, and everyone, every races or whatever language or whatever culture you come in and you've integrated, and we've learned from you, and you've learned from us. Thank you so much for this moment. I'm glad that we're doing this together. The movement that is happening there in Hawaii, I just want to let them know that the chiefs here, we are discussing that, and it's the same thing that's happening here, but it's just different in characteristics, because of the different structures that we have politically and economically, and the different system that we are already exposed to. But it's all different types of lesson of the same dimension of lessons that we're all learning together. So, much love and blessing to everyone that's on the show. You're part also of the change. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kim and the team. I'm looking forward to this new creation that we're doing, and we will do our part. I know everyone will do their own. As soon as this is done, I'll be updating everyone on the progress. And so for now, I won't be able to talk fully about what's happening because it's a total process. I want the process to be done, and then we can talk about it. So we're still in the middle of that process, and it's not going to be of any use to be able to explain it until it's actually done. And so if we can do that here in Fiji, we'll be doing it to the rest of the Pacific and to the rest of the world. And so yeah, and greetings from Denmark and Suzanne, and what you guys are doing there in Denmark. Thank you so much for that. The the expression of love and the expression of sovereignty that you guys are doing together and standing up for your sovereignty. And so it's one of the very important point right now is that everyone must know that is the sovereignty of the planet has been reset, and a lot of people still forget this. They think that it's still the same way in the old or in the past, even past 2-3 years. Sovereignty has reset. That simply means that right now there's no other sovereignty on the planet. The Queen, the Vatican, and all these, they used to be the trustee. They are no longer the sovereign. They don't have that power behind them. That's why they're in problems right now. They don't have that anymore. The only sovereign right now is the trustee, and everyone that's gonna stand up for their own sovereignty, and they created a new. This is one of the most important part of the message that everyone has to learn. Sovereignty has been changed, has been reset. This is the spiritual sovereignty. So whatever monarch right now on the planet, they are not sovereign anymore. They have to regain their sovereignty by reaching out to the trustee. And that's, the stopping of the fund is the physical expression of that reset of sovereignty. So they can receive fund because they are not sovereign anymore. They have to prove that they will be able to use the fund in the most beneficial way to humanity. If they can't prove their sovereignty and do the right thing and stand for humanity and work together with this new creation that we're doing, and then I'm sorry, they will have to learn the hard way. And that's one of the basic things that everyone here in Fiji, I've already stated to the chiefs, all the chiefs here in Fiji, I've stated to them, there is a change in sovereignty. There's no one, and all the chiefs here have already they understood that the sovereignty of become a leader is already gone. That includes all the government on the planet, whether it's Putin, whether it's all these people around the world. That sovereignty is actually in a reset mode, and this is recognized by the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, and not just hierarchy of the planet, but the spiritual agreement of the solar system. That this timeline that we have. And so this is one of the most important messages that everyone needs to learn and understand, and that's the reason why we are going to create our own, and we are going to get ourselves from the law of the sea to the law of the land. And that's to mean that we are getting connected back to the planet, and we become all sovereign. And, this is, it's very important because a lot of people always miss the point. And if you understand that point, you will be able to understand what the role of the trust and the role of Kim is as a trustee. It is the owner of the assets right now. The true owner of the assets are the people that are not sovereign yet, or the people that are still sleeping. The representation of the sovereignty is when they work together with Kim and become and learn how to actually love one another. If they keep fighting, there is no sovereignty. That's not a sign of sovereignty. There will be no fund, and they will learn, and the economy will crash. So what we're doing right now in Fiji, we are trying to teach everyone that's this simple truth, because there's so many people that are not in the known about this. It's a lot of education that we are doing. a lot of teaching that I'm actually doing. And I'm very. I think I was just gifted to do it. I was born to actually do that, and within a few months, thousands of people already understood about the change. Thousands of people understood their role in this change. And so, are we going to do it here, all around the Pacific, all around the world? We'll be traveling physically to express and to remind everyone about their sovereignty that is within them. That is always there. That is the life force that is always keeping them alive. And they will understand that they are the creators of the reality or the different illusions that they create. And then they will become truly sovereign by learning how to reveal the reality and recreate the new reality individually, collectively, and on the entire planet. So yeah, that's the most important message that the Confederacy would like to send everyone that's listening in now, and not just now, also in the future. Whatever frequency of awareness that you may have, by the time you hear about that, you should understand that that's the reason why the whole planet right now is in this reset mode. So basically, the global currency reset is not a physical thing; it's a spiritual thing, because the spiritual energy is the one that value all the assets of the planet, and so it's still happening. But it happens. It's happening on the spiritual inside, the change of sovereignty within. It's not no one will be leading the planet. Everyone will become sovereign of the planet, and so that's the big message that that the Confederacy represent, not only but through the message talking, but also embodying it and actually discussing it and being that sovereignty, that embodiment. So this is if this is what you call the kingdom of heaven that everyone has been waiting for. It's not outside; it's within you. I think it's just a time that it was not recognized, unknown, and now everyone has to remember and create the heaven within them. And the heaven outside will just, it's just an expression of that sovereignty. So, yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Much love and blessing from Fiji. That's it for now.
All right, to it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dewey. Well, one of the thing on sovereignty I had mentioned earlier when I was talking with Tui Garantang was that the Linux community has formed a new open source effort for cryptocurrencies. It's called Hashlet. I'm sorry, I'm not misprint. It's a different one. Sorry, it's Hyperledger blockchain. And in that Hyperledger blockchain, they have many tools. So it's well developed already. It's looking good, but they have a couple of them regarding identity of the individual people. And they refer to them as sub-sovereign, these entities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting but that would also mean that you should be sovereign, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell if it comes down to proving your sovereignty based on working for your other man, with your other man, I've proven it 100 times over. So if that's all it takes, then I want that recognized personally, because at the end of the day, we can make all these spiritual claims in the world. This is what has dominated Christianity forever, right? They they believe that the kingdom of heaven is someplace outside of themselves, somewhere far off, and it's going to come after they die. Now, this is just a psyops they use to get them to, dedicate their life to being impoverished, right, and serving them. And so I look at it right now. I mean, I don't, as far as the leaders go, if we're all going to be sovereign, then there's no reason why any leader should be sovereign before me or before you. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I can tell, I don't know why we'd have to wait on any of them. Because clearly they are making choices every single day that say they don't want sovereignty. They want to be slaves, or they want to be slave owners, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes them slaves anyways. Because if that's what you want, you just bad. So
yeah. Yes, indeed.
I don't know. I understand that there's a million things I don't know. That's the only explanation I can come up with. And right now, I just find it to be we're still hearing the same GCR nonsense this weekend. We still got people. They're still trying to redeem Mexican bonds and German bonds and everything else. The banks are crashing. The whole GCR community is still cheering for the economy to crash. It's just silly. That doesn't serve us. As the banks come down, the people have got to be able to rise up. Now, I'm assuming that because they were able to pay their paychecks on Monday, that's why the banks didn't crash or whatever. But this Monday coming, tomorrow, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to pay as far as what we're told. So something has got to shift, and all of these so-called leaders, which not one of them, this fool Elijah Cummings. Now, this guy is already guilty of being over the Ways and Means Committee or whatever, and he made sure that his wife, of all people, her charitable organization got like $7 million, right? And this is how they make money, right? They award their people over and over again. So we can't bring the money into any of them. They have lost the right to touch the money. They have decided to align themselves and create alliances with other forces that are not human and have anti-human agendas. You have got to bring the money in through the people, period. If it doesn't come in through the people, and the people have got to be the ones, just like it will, I think it'll be in Fiji, is then the people decide that the money, how it gets distributed back to the government. That way you don't have, garbage organizations like the IRS who are falsely taxing us. You don't have, corporate entities taking over our governments as we sit back and wait. What, the Bible says that wait which doth so easily beset you. And it says WEIGHT, but you know what? It's the same weight, WAIT. It's the same weight that just crushes us as we sit here. It's hope deferred maketh the heart sick. And at this point, it really needs to break through to prevent the heartbreak of humanity. Humanity has gone through enough. People have waited their whole life to be free. Now, half these people that don't want it, they don't have to have it. But for every single person that wants their sovereignty, and I am one, they should have it today. And it's not enough. It's not enough to just say it, to just embody it, because you can embody it all you want. It still doesn't feed my kids, right? You can embody it all you want. All those people in Fiji who don't have jobs, don't have money, they still got to get paid. If we're going to use currency in that way, in a tangible sense of just, money, then the money has got to be redistributed to the people. And there has to be a channel that works, because now I think it can work in Fiji, because Tui's right, obviously, that they don't even have a structure in place that could receive the money, right? They were isolated that much. So yes, that makes sense. That they need to have a terminal that acknowledges the Kingdom of Fiji, and they need to have their own number so they can pull things down. That makes sense. And in Fiji, Tui could go around and talk to the military and get everybody on board, and you could use the banks there in Fiji. But when it comes down to, well, now what? Where can you send that money? If they isolate Fiji, which the way they do all the time, they isolate us, they divide us, then we can't go anywhere. So there has to be some kind of uniformity across the world, particularly because all these banks are ready to crash. And and I don't appreciate that. Last week we were told we're about to the banks are going to crash, and they didn't. Not that I want them to crash, I want them to cooperate. but at the end of the day, it's like something's got to give. And Deutsche Bank is, they're pulling out $1 billion a day every day out of Deutsche Bank. But all these things, right? Now you take this guy, this is what I'm saying about Elijah Cummings. Elijah Cummings comes out today and he starts going off the audacity of this coward. He was going off on the border patrol for the horrible treatment of the kids. Where was this piece of garbage when all these politicians were molesting, raping, and killing kids, trafficking them, taking them out of people's families? What about the American kids that you let have that happen? Elijah Cummings. Garbage. This stuff has every single person, nobody should be waiting. Nobody. Not the chiefs in Fiji or anywhere else. Nobody. We have waited long enough. Everybody has waited. And the fact that everyone waits and we all sit and watch other people do stuff, the question we should ask, wait a minute, what makes them more qualified than you? All of us should be just as hot as I am about this, because we need to push the energy to a point where there is no other option but then to give us our sovereignty. Because if you don't claim it, you waive your right. And while we're sitting around waiting for someone else to do it, we are waiving our right. Our silence is our consent. And I'm disgusted by the fact that I was so appalled by this guy, Elijah Cummings, today. How dare you, after all that you've let happen to all these children, every day they're dropping these reports. And I'll tell you, this is how the world came to an end before, because nothing happened. The money didn't come down to the people. They end up killing off Kim, and they think they have somebody else who can access the trust, and they can't. So what happens? The pedophilia stuff comes out in such force that it does nothing but create such negativity in the collective consciousness that we end up destroying the planet. You can't trust anybody anymore when all your government officials are pedophiles and murderers stealing from everybody.
Yeah,
I
saw one figure that said a third of the government officials are pedophiles.
And I think that's very conservative. So when you think about that, now, it's all coming out now, right? And everybody's celebrating. Oh, look, it's finally happening. Well, has anyone considered that, like, they're doing this on purpose? Because I know for a fact the plan was always to create a villain. And the villain had to be in the West because they were going to do a peaceful transition of power to the East. So the villains in the West were the Clintons, right? And the Bushes. They're the villains, right? Now Obama. So they created their villains, right? And what are we doing now? We're still pining, hoping they get Hillary Clinton, this 70-year-old beat-up clone. That's what we're worried about. We need to get her under wraps. This disgusting rapist, ruddy-looking, big-nosed fool, Bill Clinton. This is our threat? No, it's not. They're not our threat. The threat is our indifference. The threat is that we believe them still, that they keep telling us to wait and we keep doing it. That is the biggest threat to humanity. The biggest threat to humanity is the collective consciousness of the people being fooled into continuing this same program. We are the ones creating this world. We're the ones. If we're going to have sovereignty, we are going to have to take a stance somewhere. Now, look, I keep mentioning this. The guy talked about how the militia in Massachusetts, they beat the British back to Boston, and they never fired a shot. It was the collective will of those men standing together saying, we are sovereign, and you will not take our land. You will not take our homes. You will not abuse our wives. You will not abuse our children. And they stood together. And they stood in that place, in that space. And now we're limited by all these things because we're trying to get this message out. It is not the time when we're talking about, well, we still need to start doing this. We need to have been doing this. At this point, the people there should be such a bubbling energy and a feel in connection to the planet. Because if you don't feel the planet pushing you to be sovereign, I just don't think you're in tune with it. This planet wants to be free. She wants to be free all by herself. She's sovereign. Now we are just a part of her, part of the air, the wind, the fire, right? The earth. That's us. So we've got to be more imaginative and more creative in every aspect of our life. But celebrating that Epstein, who's nothing more than a lackey, nothing more than a figurehead scumbag, he's nothing. He's nothing. He's not even that important. Now, is he going to unlock things? Yes, he's going to. But we are the ones who have to unlock it. We have to realize we're sovereign. And when you realize you're sovereign and you're wearing chains, it's heartbreaking. It is beyond difficult. It's waking up surrounded by zombies, chewing on the brains of your children, and you're sitting there woken up like, oh my gosh, what happened? How do we get here? Because remember, I love this. Ali Demagar said this. He said, "There's billions of us. There's billions of us. There's a few thousand of them. How could we let this happen? It's on us." And that's the tragedy. That's the tragedy. Because look, all it takes, get one person to listen to you. If everybody listening just tonight got one person to listen to you today, and you made sure before you left their presence that they got one more person to listen to them, you realize in a month we would have hit every single human being on the planet? In a month. But people are too busy, trying to maintain status quo. We're too busy trying to be a good house slave.
We did. Actually, we just can't see it.
I believe that. All right. I believe that.
The views have been tampered with. So, we have been standing up. That's one thing. We see it in Puerto Rico now, right? They're standing up, and I think that was pushed out there by Trump, right? Because why were these text messages released by all the high officials? Right now, all the people are in the streets saying, "Hey," they're banging pots and pans, saying, "You got to get out of here. We're done with you." All right, and so where's that like $90 billion that was sent there for hurricane relief, and only 14 billion of it made it into the hands of the people? Where's the rest?
Exactly.
We're standing up, and we're making the push. I think this is their plan, right? The Clintons are the bad guys, Bushes are the bad guys. They did all these, and when it's revealed, plus the economy collapses, then they win, right? But the difference is that Trump has stopped the economy from collapsing, but their plan is rolling forward.
Trump couldn't stop the economy from collapsing if he wanted to. Kim has stopped the economy from collapsing. I mean, let's just be clear. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like the same plan. I mean, and I appreciate that, but at this point, I'm still confused by what, all these forces, all these men and women involved in the fight, and we can't take over some bankers? Steve Mnuchin? Really? Steve Mnuchin is the threat. What was the guy? Powell from the federal. These are the. It's not even possible. It's not even possible that they're really what's standing in our way. Can you imagine being in front of God and being like, "Look, I would have freed humanity, but man, Steve Mnuchin was there." Could you even? I mean, could you even say it with a straight face?
No. I'm not stopping because of Mnuchin.
Right, exactly.
Well, and Kim definitely is part of this. When I say Trump, I'm thinking more of the what people see, in the media, the perception of who has stopped this. They're not seeing Kim, but they do see Donald Trump out there, and so when he's prevented their plan from unrolling the way they thought, but their plan still is unrolling. They can't stop it. They don't want to stop it, and they're going to think that they can recover after the next election cycle.
This guy Ron Davis, he's an expert and really an activist for the real law, constitutional law. He stands up for, he's always standing up for people, helping. He's got 41 kids back from, Child Protective Services for families. And he said, his father fought, his grandfather fought in different wars, and they never wanted him to be a soldier. And he talks to soldiers all the time, and when he's talking to them, some of them, especially these older guys, they get devastated. They're like, "You mean to tell me that I fought for nothing?" And his response was, "No, you fought at the behest of people that were willing to sabotage and create wars all over the world. But it wasn't your fault. You didn't know." But imagine, you've got all these men and women out there who have been put to wage war on the world for the corporate American empire. Now, this is their chance for redemption. Turn your backs on these people. I know you're listening. Turn your backs on these people. Stop working for them. They want nothing for you. They'll put you in Antarctica when they're done and forget about you and kill your family in the process. They don't care about you. They they are anti-human. They want humans to die. There's not a place for us to coexist because they've already destroyed the emotional connection they had to being human. They think they're better than us because they don't have that feeling. They make decisions based purely on intellect, and their intellect is average at best. Now, they have had more benefits than we have. They've had all types of things we never had, but they're they're just enslaving you now. Walk away. That's the real walk away movement. That's the real walk away movement. Walk away from these people. Don't kill anybody else. You know, you just had this happen uh up where Blackwater and whatever they're called now, Academy now, they have their this oil operating facility up there, which we believe is Halliburton. And in there, the top 12 officials in that group, they have this double F gun license, authority to produce guns, right? To make guns from scratch. And they are moving these guns. We know this for a fact from people inside. They're moving these guns into operations all over the country, but most particularly in Minnesota there, so that they can arm the jihadist Islamics, right? I have the videotape of these facilities of female soldiers marching on American soil right here in New York. And they're training them to fight and kill us. Now, it's not because they're Muslim. It doesn't even matter. It's the same, Khazarian, draconian whatevers at the top that pit us all against each other, and we fall for it every time. And these fools are out there fighting in public about things that nobody cares about. The four horsewomen of the apocalypse getting up demanding that President Trump be impeached. Why?
It sounds like they need a new target.
Yes. Everybody needs to be. Look, you know you're targeted. If somebody look, this goes back to the Oath Keepers patch, right? The Oath Keepers patch says, look, I will not obey a law that tells me to disarm Americans. I will not obey a law that says I should turn and fire on Americans. This is what they're doing. This group just recently, this past week, they had two of their drivers, die from mysterious circumstances, right? Young guys, like 35, 42, young guys.
Drivers? What does that mean, drivers?
Drivers, because they own a trucking company called Trade Star, and this trucking company, suddenly they had, these guys were on to what was going on, and they realized they're shipping arms. They're shipping weapons to, to Islamic military camps that are here. And all these, I shouldn't say Islamic, they're all just United Nations camps, right? That's what they are. Religion is just a tool that they've used against us to enslave us.
I think again, the militia should go out there and do some training right next to their camps and say, "Hey, you're ready to do some skirmishes."
Do a scrimmage.
We'll do some, we'll do some preparations. So because we're going to be fighting out there for real soon, so we might as well go ahead and do some war gaming. I think that might start changing those people's minds, who they're up against.
I hope so. I'll tell you what, my attitude is like this. For everybody who's out there, who's doing something already, do more. And I promise, I won't ask anybody to do anything I'm not doing already or wouldn't do myself. And find a way to get through to people who are doing nothing. The way the Black's law reads is that every man, woman, and child is already a member of the militia. And you are responsible to set the boundaries that you will not allow someone trying to oppress you to cross. Now, those boundaries have long been violated. We have been oppressed, suppressed, abused. We have been extorted. We have been the resources of our human energy have been devoured. The essence and beauty and the purity of our children has been destroyed. The sanctity of our marriages has been destroyed. The love that we have naturally for our offspring is being destroyed. Now, if they get that, we lose. I'm telling you, it's just bigger. It's just so much bigger. And I know winning and there's all this great news. But at the end of the day, what I know, if the people have not been set free, there is no freedom. If we are not allowed to stand face to face against our oppressors with equal or greater resources, and to confront our accusers, and to decide for ourselves with our own free will and our own sovereignty what is their punishment, what is the consequences, the natural consequences of their actions, or whatever else it is. But we need to be able to thrive. And I think the worst consequences for them would be for us to thrive. And that's all we want. I just want to be able to thrive. I want to be able to thrive. I want my kids to be able to thrive. I want you to be able to thrive, period. And that would be
Indeed.
plenty of punishment. Plenty of punishment.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Well, are we good or for today?
Yes, indeed. Dewey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate everything you had to say, man. I really do. And,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, everyone watching live. Thank you, everyone in the chat room. Thank you, everyone, wherever you are on the planet. Thank you, everyone in Hawaii, all the tribes that are standing up for their sovereignty. Thank you so much to everyone, even people that will be standing up for it in the future, in the new few days, in Australia, New Zealand, in the Pacific, all over Europe, or whatever part of the planet that you may be, that I cannot mention here on the show. Thank you so much for being here in this now with us and being part of this great change that we're doing together. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone. Much love and blessing from Fiji. Peace.
Peace out from New York. Have a good night, guys, and everybody else.
Yeah, love and blessings from the Philippines. Good night, guys.